Moving on to hockey now. How are you, Sam Spooner? You look a little bit in pain today.
Yeah, I've worn a hockey ball to the knee, so we'll
Oh,
see how we are in an hour or two. And
killer.
yeah,
How was your game?
sore. Funnily enough,
Painful.
yeah, it was all right. To be fair, it was a good physical game.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we'll come to that. You were going to let you read the scores today. So, if we may, let's start in the men's Prem. So we had Saracens A versus Harlequins A, Ramsey A versus Backers B, Vikings A versus Vikings B, and Backers A versus Valkyrs A.
So yeah, we'll start with Saracens A versus Harlequins A. First of all, for this game, Chris Cave went to the wrong pitch. Somehow,
Brilliant.
Still managed to make it to the game and get on the score sheet for Harlequins A, but unfortunately they lost out 8-3. George Powell with 2, Andrew Winstanley with 2, Tom Dalton-Brown with 1, and Kyle Watson with 1 for Saracens A. Harlequins A, Chris Cave, and then Joe Middleton with 2. For Ramsey A, Backers B, a big score for Ramsey A. It's I thought Backers B might have a chance of winning this game, but it puts Ramsey B pretty much clear at the bottom of the table there, and Alex Neil with 3, Thomas Titsos with 2, and Nat Smith with 1.
What was the exciting game of the day in the men's Prem, would you say? Backers A versus Valkyrs A?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a little bit closer than I thought. I thought Backers A might run away with it, but Valkyrs A, I mentioned it to their captain, Kieran Gell, beforehand, and I said I've seen their improvement over the past couple of years, especially with their pushing youth into their first team as well. And you can see that improvement in the scoreline. Earlier on, they shipped, I think, 6 or 7 goals against Backers A. Now it's 2, and they had chances themselves. So Backers A won't be quite rocked. They do go 4 points clear as it stands, and the title within their grasp. Patrick Cox and Tony Bentley-Roberts on the score sheet for Backers A, but a real big shout-out for Valkyrs A. You ran them close today.
And then Vikings A dominating their B team fairly easily today, it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreline says that, but I didn't see the domination, because I umpired this game, I didn't see the domination I expected from Vikings A. The B team had 2 or 3 players that would normally be in and around the first team squad playing for them today, just to, not to even the sides out, but to make sure everybody got a game, and there was plenty of subs to go around all the men's teams today. And I have to say, Dom Hubble for Vikings B, it was everything good going forward went through him initially, and I thought he was a standout performer today. But Vikings A, they got the job done in the first half, 6-2 at half time, 9-2 at the end. John Cooper with 3, Tom Evans with 2, Archie Cayley with 2, Alex Birch and Neil Crow for the A team, and for the B team, Andrew Harding and Joe McNichols.
Moving on to the women's Prem, we had Castletown A versus Backers A, Valkyrs B versus Ramsey A, Vikings A versus Valkyrs A, and Saracens versus Harlequins. And the big match of the day was the rematch between Vikings A and Valkyrs after Valkyrs took the indoor final last weekend, and they certainly didn't disappoint. Finished 1-1, didn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? Both sides were disappointed walking off. I mean, Valkyrs
were
really happy that they got a point, but really, they needed a win. If they could have won that game, they'd have narrowed the gap to 1 point. Now they've got to rely on somebody else taking a point off Vikings A. Can I see that happening? Absolutely. When you look at the other performances from today, so like Backers A for the past couple of weeks, I can see that happening. So Valkyrs A are right in there still, and it was a really good game. I watched the last 20 minutes of this game, and it was real end-to-end stuff. Vikings A struggled to get into their stride in the last sort of 15-20 minutes. They couldn't really string a pass together as much, but they pushed that winner, but they couldn't quite get it. Brescia Foxton on the score sheet for Vikings A, and Jess Loder on the score sheet for Valkyrs A, and I suspect Vikings A probably be the happier side.
Moving on to what would you say the next game of the day was in the women's Prem?
Yeah, I think that one's Castan A, Backers
yes.
A. When you look at the two sides, they were there or thereabouts. They were challenging at the top all season. Backers A hadn't challenged as they had done, but I said last week that they always find a way to have a say in a title challenge, and they've hit their stride just at the right time. And this is why I think Valkyrs are not out of it by any stretch. They're beating a side that they hadn't beaten this season so far. 3-0 today, really good performance. They've really grown into the season. Lauren Brew, Emma Whiting and Rose Watkins on the score sheet for Backers A. And if it wasn't for the performance of Castellan's defence and goalkeeper and Zara Sweeney, Backers A could have had more today.
Then we have Valkyrs B and Ramsey A very close together in the table as well.
Yeah, and this takes Ramsey A into 5th place, and the best of the rest in the bottom of the table there. And it's a little bit of a surprise. I thought Valkyrs B might be able to do a bit more against them, especially defensively. They are stunning defensively, Valkyrs B. But Emma Miller, they went 1-0 up in the first half through Emma Miller. In the second half, Lisa Pugh put one on the score sheet, but Ramsey A, second half, I think they probably had the best of the fitness, with Vic Garner with 2, Sophie Stout and Amy Swift on the score sheet for Ramsey A.
And then we had our second Saracens versus Harlequins match of the day.
Yeah, big point for Harlequins. Yeah, I'm really, really happy for them. They've earned a point in the Premier League, and nobody expected them to, in all fairness. Saracens had a good season up till now. They've taken 4 points. They've taken points away from, I think, Ramsey as well. So I expected them to win fairly easily. Unfortunately, they couldn't quite overcome Harlequins, but fantastic result for Harlequins. Patricia McMullen and Macy Crellin on the score sheet for Harlequins. Emma Roberts and Sarah Farragher for Saracens.
Moving on to men's Division 1, and we had Castletown B versus Bacchus C, Castletown A versus Bacchus Colts, Valkyrs B versus Vikings C, and Harlequins versus Saracens again.
So in Castletown B, Bacchus C, that's actually been postponed. Bacchus C weren't quite able to field a team. They've got a few people isolating after travelling back from the UK, so they couldn't field a team. We're unsure whether that's been postponed or walk over to Castletown B at this point. They both teams want to play it.
Yeah.
You don't want to drop a game in a season like this, and so yeah, they're both keen to play it. But we'll see what happens with that. Castletown A versus Bacchus Colts, big result for Castletown A. It puts them. They've scored more goals than any other team in this league now. 59 goals. Paul Kelly with 4, Christian Steriopoulos with 2. Big 7-0 win against Bacchus Colts.
Then we had Valkyrs B versus Vikings C. You would assume a fairly straightforward win for Valkyrs B.
Yeah, it was 1-0 in the first half, and Vikings C had a couple of chances. Dom Hubble played 2 games today, given that he's under 18, so he dropped down for the C team to help make up the numbers. And he made a big difference today, especially driving forward. And Vikings C had a decent first half. 1-0 down against a team that is flush with former Ireland players that would not look out of place in their first team, in all honesty. And I love playing against Valkyrs B. It's always a nice physical game where you can have a little bit of a joke and a little bit of fun as well. But in the second half, a couple of injuries, people needed to go off, and Valkyrs B, you can tell their fitness is much better than some of the older people in the Vikings C team, and they won the game 3-0. I haven't quite got the scores of Valkyrs B, but it was the last game of the day, so I'll let Dave Hall off for that. If you can text me in 166 177, that'd be brilliant, Dave. Thank you.
And then we have Harlequins B versus Saracens B. These two are on 4 points each in the league table.
Can't split them, can you?
No.
No matter what they do, they just cannot be separated on points. It's all down to goal difference, which at the moment Harlequins B are shading by 2 goals. 3-3 at the first half and 5-5 at the end of the game. What a game this must have been. Joe Middleton with 3, starring for the B team as he did with the first team earlier on in the day. Ben Cunningham and Matt Darvin for Harlequins B. Saracens B, Steve Jackson with the hat-trick, and Liam Farrow with 2 goals for Saracens. But what a game that must have been. I'm disappointed I missed that.
And then we have, in the Women's Division 1, Valkyries C versus Bacchus C, Vikings C versus Castletown B, and top versus bottom, Vikings B versus Ramsey B.
Yeah, we'll start with the top versus bottom. Vikings B, you kind of expected them to win. I didn't expect them to win by the scoreline they have. I mean, that's a big result for them. It puts some clear daylight in the goal difference stakes between them and Bacchus B. Charlie Millwood with 4, Becca Kelly with 2, Kirsty Cooper with 2, Tamsin Naylor, Jenny Vernon Brown and Stevie Mellon all with 1 each. And if you look at those goal scorers, you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of those 11 goals were scored by players under the age of 18. So that's a great future for Vikings. They're right there on that side. Ramsey B, unfortunate that they've shipped 11 goals today, but from what I hear, they still had smiles on their face at the end of the game and just enjoyed the day.
That is incredibly important as well. Then Viking C and Castletown B, these two are next to each other in the table. You would assume it would be quite a close game.
Well, if you look at the points, you'd expect Castletown B to win, but Castletown B are the masters of draws at the minute. They seem to have got draws against sides above them and beaten the sides below them, but they couldn't quite overcome a Viking C team that seems to be growing into their season again. Brescia Kane got the score sheet for Viking C, but Castletown B dug a point out of nowhere with pretty much the last touch of the game, and you can see the Viking C team was so deflated with that, but it was a really good game to watch, end-to-end hockey. And there was even a bit of aggro at times. Everybody, fans love a little bit of aggro, don't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a really, really good game to watch, actually. And well done to Castown B. They did not give up, and they earned themselves a point.
What was the final score?
1-1, sorry.
And then we have Valkyrs C and Bacchus C.
Yeah, 3-1 win to Valkyrs C. I haven't got the Bacchus C goal score at this time. You can text it in 166 177. Valkyrs C, Lucy Murphy with 2 and Kate Doran with 1. And Molly Thomas making a senior debut for the team as well, and apparently having a superb debut for the Valkyrs C team.
And then we've just had one text in for the Under-16s League, and that was Bacchus 1, Castletown 9, and the Bacchus scorer was Theo Head.
Yeah.